Hi. Where am I? So let's be completely honest here. We've all made some mistakes in our lives, and sometimes a lot of those mistakes transfer over to us and our cars. Don't lie to me, I've seen, the high school parking lot pictures. We've all been there, we've all done things that we regret, and we asked you guys what were some of the top automotive or car regrets or confessions that you guys had for us. So if you checked out Fitment Hub, if you're not part of Fitment Hub on our Facebook page, go check that out. And if you're not following our Reddit page or on there yet, go do that as well. We're dropping topics in there all the time to engage with you guys a little more, to hear your stories, see your builds, and all sort of fun stuff. So this week, we wanted to hear your guys' car confessions. So we have a little post here on Facebook that we're going through your guys' comments and reading them. But before we get into that, don't forget wheelstyle-fitmentindustries.com, all that sort of good stuff. Here we go.
Kyle O'Brien says, I've painted my BMW in the middle of winter in a parking lot between two cars using cardboard to prevent the wind from blowing the overspray onto the other cars. Can only imagine how it turned out. Kyle, how bad did you need to paint this car? Like, it couldn't have waited. You had to do it out in the parking lot in the middle of winter. Like, there's no better, like, it needed to be done. Hey, thanks for not doing overspray on the other guys, though. At least they're not part of this.
Dylan Petty, when I was younger, I lost the bolts off of my starter to my 93 Isuzu pickup. I had the idea of using zip ties to hold the starter in. Ran inside, zip tied them on there, and it lasted another 10,000 miles before it failed. This also had a Pringle and duct tape can as a replacement for the intake hose. Well, Dylan, it sounds like it worked out pretty well. And 10,000 miles, that's pretty good, like considering it was zip tied in place.
Joel says, I've gotten into 3 accidents in the month and a half I've had a driver's license. First time, bent all my suspension and steering components. Then I debeaded a tire. Then I snapped a tie rod. Joel, how did you get your license?
Craig Phipps, when I was 17, I needed a new caliper to pass inspection. I stripped the bleed nipple and ended up just filling it with JB Weld so I could drive it to the shop 20 minutes away. Had to use the e-brake for stop signs and red lights because there was so much air in the lines. Craig, that's probably one of the sketchiest ones I've heard so far. Don't fill your calipers with JB Weld. Don't be doing that.
Steve says, my first time driving in the rain, my buddy told me to yank the emergency brake, so I did. But then he says, now do it and turn the wheel a tiny bit. I pull the e-brake, give the wheel a slight nudge to the right, and the whole car spun 360 down a main road in the town we grew up in. After we stopped, I immediately pulled off to the side of the road to check and see how much shit was in my pants, and within a few moments of stopping, a local cop drove by without having any clue what just happened. That they call it emergency brake because it's for emergencies. If you don't know how to drift, that's not how you learn. Sam says, I put cheap Altezza style taillights on my Integra back in the day. The taillights were not sealed very well and turned into fish tanks. I mean, that would be pretty cool for an Integra to have fish tanks as the taillights. That doesn't sound that bad.
Maddie Muntz says, I curbed a wheel 2 weeks after putting them on. Sounds like our boy Brent.
Levi says, back in the day, I let my friend borrow my 89 240 SX and he wrecked it trying to drift a roundabout. Levi, that's not your friend. Friends don't wreck their 240s. You wreck your own 240.
Brittany says, I honestly haven't done too much crazy stuff yet, and at my current age, I don't know if I will. But I'm going to throw my half-brother under the bus here. So, he had a Ford Explorer we nicknamed the Exploder. I don't want to know why. Which had a tan interior. He wanted a black interior. He decided to buy cheap Walmart spray paint to spray the interior all black. He did the same thing to paint the vents, the grill, and some other things lime green. Totally expected plot twist, all the paint started peeling and the fabric seats were unbearable and peeled also. My parents still have that thing 14 years later. Their country property is a junk/derby car junkyard. I will ask my dad for photos to share the monstrosity with you. My half-brother also cut the stock springs to lower it and complained about how rough the ride was. You know, that just sounds like a typical, like, first car thing that you want to do stuff to. You want to lower the ride height? Chop the springs. Want to change the interior? Just grab spray paint from your nearest True Valley and spray paint it. Ask me how I know. Me and my buddy did that to his Avalanche. Turned out just about the same. Everything was sticky. Like, everything just was tacky. It never dried.
Matt says, I cut my rear rocker panels thinking I can make a wide body kit using only Bondo and without measuring. Worst idea ever. That's pretty self-explanatory. I don't need to make a comment about that.
Brandon has a story about his first car that he bought. It was a 97 Mazda MX-6 for 700 whole buckaroons. Had tons of miles on it, but only some were counted as the fuse for the instrument cluster would randomly blow, especially if it was wet outside. The car drank oil worse than a rotary, taking a little offense to that, but you know, it is what it is. Actually, they're designed to do that, so you know, I don't even care. As I'm on my way home from the closing a restaurant at 2 a.m., there's someone ahead of me doing 45 in a 55. I downshift to pass, and as my rear tire was passing their front tire, I think to myself, you know, it's probably about time to top this thing off with oil. And then the engine says bang, sad face. I drove it another 2.5 miles with a hole in the block the size of a fist. Hey yo. Fist test.
Nicholas has a story here, says, put a bike inner tube on my 02 Hyundai Elantra exhaust tip so it would make absolutely dreadful noises. Put a cherry bomb on my 04 Pontiac Sunfire, tinted the headlights, just sprayed them, pretty much blacked out the whole car and put Batman flat bills in the back window and Batman seat covers in it and called it the Batmobile. Also was that stereotypical Subi guy and plasti dipped a few things on my 08 WRX. I'd like to say I've learned to spend the money the hard way to make things look good. I'm Batman. Batman. Why? All right, guys, that was our car confessions that we post in Fitment Hub and Reddit. Make sure to drop a comment down below so we can read all of your car confessions. Thanks for watching. And don't forget wheels, tires, and suspension. FitmentIndustries.com. I'm gonna go cry myself to sleep now.